possible.
It is the way in which we propagate our species.
Please demonstrate how this is accomplished.
So, what's next?
I don't know.
Hi, and welcome to Casual Trek, a Star Trek recap and ranking podcast brought to you by Nerd and Ty and Donna Troi's Zombie Baby. I'm Charlie Etheridge-Nunn, a writer and a fan of the Damon Lindelof Ridley Scott vehicle Prometheus.
And I'm Miles Reed Lobato, a science fiction writer and fan of the pair of freaky half-human, half-space lizard babies that Blair Tefkin gives birth to in the miniseries V: The Final Battle.
That's not like threshold babies, right?
No, they're human. They're half human, half lizard. Well, okay, one is a half lizard, half human space baby. So
Okay.
it's a green puppet which dies soon after of space plague, and then one is a human baby which does what all alien hybrids do in science fiction, which is grow really quickly and sheds its skin, and then somehow, for some reason, has magical powers.
Weird. Okay. Yeah. I didn't realise V had magic powers in. I've only seen the, I hate to say modern version, because it's probably decades old now, but yeah, the post-Lost version.
You mean V, the DEI edition with all the DEI taken out?
Yeah, that one.
It is like... I love the original 1984 V and V: The Final Battle. I think the big point which I really like is that it has a huge cast of characters over different social castes and various ethnicities, and the 2009 remake was the whitest show on television.
Wow. Well, we're not here to talk about V currently, but we're here to talk about Star Trek, and each episode we watch stories from 3 different shows based around a theme, and we rank them on our big list of best to worst. This episode, it feels like a weird one to do during Pride, but yeah, we're looking at space pregnancies. So yeah, luckily I think most of them are human and something, but yeah, it's space babies, basically.
Space babies?
We're sorry to anyone that's going to have to hear this episode. We've not had any bottom shooters, I think, since Section 31. So this is what we went with. Happy Pride. So
this is what we went with because we're still too chicken shit to make us watch the episode of Deep Space Nine where Quark has a sex change.
Yes, 100% yes. Although I can talk about a Legion of Superheroes story with a very similar idea when we do. So, yeah.
But with the Legion of Superheroes, they were doing that all the time, between issues.
Pretty much. Anyway, before we go on, Miles, what non-Star Trek thing have you been enjoying since we last spoke?
I really wish I could say Doctor Who. I really do, but the season finale left me in not such a great way. So I'm going to go with a pair of novels. One I have reread, and one I was reading for the first time.
Oh.
The novel I reread was William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist, which is a fantastic film and a fantastic book. And the other one was... oh god, I can't remember his name. Paul Benchley, I think. And the novel was Jaws. And on that one, you can add that to the list of books where the film was better.
Yeah, that's all I know about the Book of Jaws. I've no idea why the film's better, but I've taken people on their word and not bothered reading it.
I would say that it does a lot of streamlining of the story. It takes out a lot of... you know how in the film Jaws, the mayor really wants that town open? For all the holidays. It's because he owes a lot of money to the mob.
Oh, okay.
And honestly, I kind of feel that takes away from it because, in the film, the fact he wants everything open is just because, he wants the town to do well. It's prioritized, because no public official would prioritize everyone going out and having a good time while there is something horrendous going on.
Yeah, we've definitely not seen that in the last 4 years, 5
No.
years. Still seeing it.
And also, you don't have a scene in the film of Jaws where the Richard Dreyfuss character has sex with Roy Schneider's wife.
Oh, wow. I was wondering where that was going. I imagined for a moment with the shark in some kind of dream sequence or something like that, but no, it wasn't anything as entertaining as that.
And it might just be because I've spent the last couple of years reading far too many killer creature novels by James Herbert and Guy N. Smith. But reading those books, I'm like, man, if Guy N. Smith had written a novel about a killer shark, A, there would be a lot more gruesome deaths.
Yeah.
B, there would be a lot more sleazy sex scenes, but it would still be a far more enjoyable book than the rather miserable book that we get, which has a fantastic movie. And so, Charlie, what non-Star Trek thing have you been enjoying, apart from quite evidently catching the plague?
Yeah. My non-recommendation is Summer Colds. It's lovely out there. I have some nice new floral shirts. It's shorts weather, which is great, and yet I am thick with plague. I thought I was power gaming, going to a convention by getting a cold beforehand and working my way through it. Unfortunately, it wasn't gone. I was just running on caffeine and adrenaline. So that's not great. And now I'm just thick with the lurgy, which is great. Yeah, luckily for you lot, I'm going to be either hot with the mute button or with cutting any sneezing out of the edits. So, yeah. But my positive recommendation is mere days ago, the Switch 2 has arrived. And oh my god, Super Mario Kart World has been a joy. I will try not to gush too much because I know some folks don't necessarily have theirs yet. But yeah, it's got a nice open world kind of setting that you can drive about in and stunt off things in. You can play as so many minion type creatures. A lot of them, like the bee or the crab, just look helpless in a cart. Why are they in there? They've not got opposable thumbs. They can't work for pedals. Who did this? What cruel person? And yet they must race.
I mean, having read Guy N. Smith's classic Night of the Crabs, I know that giant crabs are capable of operating with military precision. So I don't find it ludicrous that a crab could put its claws on 10 and 2 and drive a go-kart.
Wow. But could they do that while holding a mushroom in a pincer? Because some of them look like they're holding the items up in the pincers.
Okay, you got me there. We haven't been able to get a Switch 2, but my wife Rihanna is an ex-Best Buy employee, and where we work now is about literally 3 minutes away from Best Buy. So now the plan is every Saturday morning on her first break, she's going to get on her e-bike, bike across to Best Buy, Akira slide through the double doors, ask if they've got the Switch 2 in yet, and then come back. Okay, probably not Akira slide, but in my mind, she Akira slides in every time.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, that feels like the right way to do it. And yeah, I had a Mario Karty party at the weekend, and it's I don't do much multiplayer online, but get a bunch of people on our sofas playing on the Switch, playing split screen Mario Kart. It's just such a joy.
It's it's one of the things a few years ago I went to a convention and I played in a GoldenEye tournament. And you know what? The fun was just I miss just kind of sitting around a small TV, just playing GoldenEye on either on Slappers only or all rockets. All rockets in the faculty level is just so much fun because it gets dumb really quickly.
So we used to play tag, where it was pistols, one-hit kills for 10 minutes. Only one person can use a gun at a time. Everyone has to run and hide. And because it's split screen, you can see what other people are looking at. So you try and obscure what you're looking at in the basement, whether it's a bit of floor. And it's basically hide and seek. And whoever's it at the end loses. So you need to try and shoot someone. When they respawn, they pull their gun up. And yeah, it's good fun.
So, quick question. Was Oddjob off limits in multiplayer?
100%, yes.
Because that seems like the unspoken rule is that no one's allowed to play Oddjob.
Yeah, and if you did whatever code it was to unlock all of the like NPC models, there was a woman that was about the same height, I think in a yellow tech suit or something, who again, like one of the group cottoned on she was the same height. It was like, well, it's not Oddjob. So yeah, smart ass. Right, anyway, we're not here to have fun. We're here to talk about weird, mystical space pregnancies. That terrible trope. Which, yeah, like I've seen too many genre shows which have this kind of thing. I was like, oh no, it's a cosmic entity. I've managed to avoid reading Avengers issue 200, which...
Charlie, you're an X-Men fan. How many weird pregnancies are there in X-Men?
I mean, do you include like being like impregnated by the Brood or dire wraiths?
I'll make it easy. I'll make it easy for you. So no.
I mean, still a lot, still a worrying lot, and you're not even looking at the alternate reality pregnancies and things, which then. Like Havoc and Wasp's daughter that was erased from the timeline, and luckily they both seem to have gotten over now. Because yeah, it's weird.
It's Alex Summers. All you gotta do is show him like a picture of Polaris, and he immediately loses all object permanence of the last 2 years.
True.
Even though Cyclops is the one who canonically has a head wound which has given him specific brain damage. I think Havoc has had too many blows to the head because I don't think that man has a long-term memory.
I'm guessing he got a head wound as well. It's just his powers don't come out of the head, so people didn't notice.
Space babies.
We have a trio of weird space pregnancy themed episodes, starting with the one that you all knew we were going to cover. Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 2, Episode 1, titled The Child.
The Child?
The Child.
The Child.
Yeah, it aired on the 21st of November, 1988. Written by many people that should have known better. Jaron Summers, John Povil and Maurice Hurley. Directed by Rob Bowman. The UK #1 hit was Robin Beck with First Time, and the US hit was... Bon Jovi with Bad Medicine. And yeah, these are very 1988. I always forget who did First Time, and it's appeared a couple of times on here. It's like, oh god, yes, it's this, which in anything idolizing the 80s, you can imagine this playing. And yeah, Bon Jovi, I like him in Rock Band. That's about it.
Yeah, I can just only really agree with all you've just said.
Yeah, I mean, that said, karaoke as well. Like, if you're drunkenly belting out some Bon Jovi in karaoke, not only is it just some daft fun, but if you're shit at singing like me, other people will also sing, and that will help balance it out. So there's a top tip for all you rubbish singers out there. Anyway.
Okay, so Charlie, you are going to recount this episode in song, right?
Oh, dear God. Oh, no. Normally, no, not without a lot of whiskey. And today, with my voice, we will see how long it lasts while I recap The Child.
The Child. I think one time...
It's a proper cartoon villain voice you've got going there.
I'll get you next time, Gadget. Next time.
Perfect.
So this is going to start a slippery slope where one of us tries to recap an episode in iambic pentameter. Probably one of the holodeck ones.
Yeah. I wish you luck with that endeavor.
Anyway, Charlie.
Yeah.
You have 5 minutes to talk about the child. Go.
So, it's the start of TNG Season 2. It's time for some changes. Worf's got a better forehead and a new rank. Riker's got the good beard. And Crusher's left the ship, with Wesley apparently due to follow in a short time. LaForge has a nice new rank and is showing off his hex pods, which look like board game component holders. Apparently, he needs 512 of them replicated in order to store plague samples, so no warping's allowed while he uses all their bandwidth on that. A strange ball of energy enters the ship, causing a brief fluctuation and flying about with, like, us looking through its fisheye lens view as it hides from people. Oh, it's a little glowing scamp. It hovers over a hairy-chested old man and then makes its way through a wall into the blankets and into Troi's bed. LaForge checks in with a surprisingly sweaty colleague about making sure they're ready for plasma plague samples, as if any one of them broke loose, the ship would be fucked. No foreshadowing here, totally. The new doctor hasn't reported in. She's at the bar. Picard gets a bit peeved at that, goes to meet her and gets in a really awkward lift ride with Wesley. We get our first look at Ten Forward and at Guinan. She points Picard to Dr. Pulaski, who's there with Troi. She's not drinking, though. She's on the job as something's up with Troi. And we find out in a meeting, of course. Troi's knocked up, and it's announced like she's terminally ill. Riker has questions. The father was apparently a presence, and the fetus is shockingly developed, given that it happened last night. At this rate, she's going to give birth in only 36 hours. Again, Riker has a lot of questions about all of this. Worf wants to kill it. Data wants to study it, probably in a mad science way. Troy's spacing out and announces she wants to keep the baby. And as they get close to Odette 9, Troy's already beginning to show. She should be uncomfortable at this stage of pregnancy, but weirdly isn't. JL radios down, and Lieutenant Commander Hester Delt is very particular about the inventory. It'll take some time to go over it all, even though there's another planet in need of samples. Data sees Troi with a beach ball under her uniform. She's going into labour, and Data calls security, just in case. Pulaski gets all robo-racist about him being there like a father. He has a ton of questions for Troi about the experience, and luckily, the baby spares her all of this by actually arriving. Riker's there, looking forlornly, wishing this was his baby. This was really weird to watch on a crowded coach, by the way. There's a lot of very close-up shots of Troi panting that look like it's kind of, it's not good when you've got a load of loud teenagers next to you and have to kind of angle it away. Anyway, Space Baby's here. It seems normal. Worf leaves as there's no honour in fighting a baby. Troi names him Ian Andrew after her father and his really surprisingly mundane name. Pulaski's welcomed for bridge, and she says there's been no births this effortless. Picard visits Troi, and Ian's somehow 4 years old already. He can even talk, seems to have been dressed in one of Wesley's ugly jumpers, and he says hello, and that everything's fine, which frankly seems suspicious. Fast forward, he's 8 years old now, and sickbay's ready to load all the plague pods up. Pulaski calls Data Data. Respect people's chosen names, Catherine. God damn it. Anyway, the samples start to get beamed over. Pulaski reckons some mad scientists engineered these plagues, as people do. Then puppies! Yay! Ian's been left in some kind of creche, and I was terrified he'd kill a puppy. Luckily he doesn't, but he has grown, and he says, I like it here, mummy, in a way which implies both in a mortal body and in this creche full of puppies. When Jail visits, apparently he's never played with puppies. He has a dark past after all, as we will see in Picard Season 2. Ian burns himself on some hot food and is shocked, and apparently he let it happen just to experience what that's like. The samples have all arrived now, so it's time to go. Wesley watches the planet whiz by in 10 forward, and Guinan checks on him. He talks, it's his duty to go where his mum goes instead of here where it's all exciting. Oh.
You have failed the test.
Yeah, it was going to happen.
Although I just realized while you were talking about your recap, I could have said Village of the Damned for the thing that I am a fan of, which also has creepy babies creepy fast-growing babies impregnated by presences. Although, I think at times Worf's expression during the birth, I think Worf wanted to eat the baby.
Yeah, he was like, hopefully it'll be some kind of Prometheus monster.
I think he was just hoping that Troi would go, I don't want this, and Worf would go, can I have it?
Yeah, well, he's in charge of security now. He gets to do the exciting things. Like, eat a space baby if it's a monster.
Do you think that Worf has a list of shit he wants to do? Like, start a war, kill and eat a crew member, and like number 5 is eat a baby.
I mean, I hope he does, but if he does, I would be very upset that we never saw it.
Worf's 5-year plan.
Yeah, his bucket list.
All right, okay.
Including killing someone with a bucket.
With a bucket. That's number 3 on the list.
Yeah, of course.
Also, I gotta say this, Ian might be the most un-science fiction name ever.
What, Cosmic Ian?
Ian. I mean, okay, you do have Ian Chesterton from the original, from the first Doctor Who lineup. But at the same time, you're never gonna, you're gonna have like a character called Dan Dare. You're never gonna have Ian Intrepid, Pilot of the Future.
No, like Ian and Barbara are very normal names by design.
Yes.
Ian, sadly for any Ians I know, is a name that I use for generic non-player characters in RPGs if I've not thought of anything else.
It's like, James, I get it. James is a strong name. Benjamin, strong name. Jean-Luc, we'll workshop it. Ian, no.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, Ian. Time to finish our recap.
Okay. So, Guinan talks to Wesley about everything and how he's going and how he wants to stay here, but he's got to follow his mum. There's some hints about Guinan and how she's weirdly old, but before anything can be said, Wes is called for bridge. Something's wrong. There's a growth in one of the pods. Fuck! This is literally the exact thing they didn't want to have happen. They've got 30 minutes until it breaks containment. Some kind of radiation must have activated it. Cut knowingly to Ian. He can feel how people are feeling about this disaster, and he knows that he's the problem. He tells Troi that he's going to have to leave, and then he just stops. Troi calls for a doctor. Pulaski arrives, and Data realizes that Ian is the source for radiation. He turns into an energy ball and sits in Troy's hands, and then he's gone back off into space. LaForge says the containment's working now. Troi explains that Ian was a life force, curious to see what it's like to live as people, and that he said thank you, and she said that she'd miss him. Has it ended yet? You'd think, but no. The plague samples are beamed over, and how long until a vaccine's made? Who knows? This isn't the kind of thing where we need to see the whole process. Just carry on and leave. Wesley explains he wants to remain on the Enterprise and wanted Jail's permission before asking his mum. Troi arrives in her new duds, and Picard asks, who will parent Wesley? Data volunteers to see his studies. Worf terrifyingly says he'll tuck him in at night, and Riker will teach him to become a man. And with that, it's agreed. The end.
1 minute, 56 seconds.
I was in hysterics with that. That whole last bit. It's like, who will tuck him in? And Worf like, yeah, it's all right. I know how thankless my job is. And I'm curious to know if whether seriously or as a bit he ever actually did. Of
okay.
I'm honestly, I did this honestly, but if anyone asks, I'm gonna say it was a joke. Honest,
Look,
yeah,
this is Worf. He does nothing as a bit.
true.
Like you know that he treated this as like a grave honor. Like he would turn up on the door at like 9 p.m. sharp. Just time for bed, Wesley.
Yes,
I'm going to read you the Velveteen Rabbit.
boy, you need to be tucked in tightly. The ship may rock. Oh God, oh. So, boy, by my honour, where I've neglected my own child, I must make sure you.
Maybe that's why Worf is such a shit parent to Alex. Is because he spends all his time just looking after Wesley.
Yeah.
Even when Wesley's left the ship, he's just knocking on Crusher's door, going, 9 p.m. Wesley, time for beddy buys.
And yeah, Riker teaching him how to be a man. It's like, oh no,
no.
Like at least Riker's wholesome with it, even if he's Riker.
Yeah.
It's like, right, Wes, here's how you can subtly ask for things that'll deal with all manner of alien STDs.
Remember, Wesley, we're from Starfleet. We don't tell a lie. Although I didn't feel that Riker was very forlorn about, like... Okay, I feel like Riker was forlorn at first.
Oh, there was a good soap opera shot during the birth of, like, let's look at him. Not quite behind a curtain or a screen or something. But like, oh.
Just hiding behind the door the entire time.
I could have been daddy.
Oh my god. Oh god.
Yeah. This one is not good.
No, I think I realized when it was that this episode was going to be a bad one. When Wesley steps out of the turbo lift, Jean-Luc goes into the turbo lift. Wesley immediately turns around and goes back in the turbo lift.
Oh, that was brilliant. And you could see for Picard, it's like, I'm having a bad time anyway, having to get my doctor out of 10 forward. And now the boy as well.
The boy.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, unsurprisingly, this was apparently a Phase 2 episode originally, which entirely makes sense, given all of this, although who would be knocked up there?
I believe in Phase 2, because I actually had, like, they put out a book about Phase 2 in like, the 90s, and I had it because I picked it up cheap from Dave's, actually.
Oh, wow.
So, like, when we did Star Trek The Motion Picture?
Yeah.
And we had the characters of Ilea and Decker.
Oh, yes.
They were going to be new characters in Star Trek Phase 2, and they were basically going to be, like, the Riker and Troi of Phase 2, so it was going to be Ilea.
Ah, I see. Yeah, like they dealt with all the maintenance fairly quickly, at least. Of going, look, we've done some shuffling. Our perspective characters should really be the station heads. So Worf, LaForge, you're both promoted. You got stuff to do. You got your nice engineering kind of things.
You're now both in your nice new, like, mustard colored onesies.
Exactly. And yeah, that fake pregnancy as well. That's that was incredible.
I was actually surprised that Worf brings up the idea of Troi having an abortion. Even though they don't call it an abortion, he does say terminate the pregnancy. I'm like, wow, and that's kind of daring for late 80s American TV.
Yeah, like in Degrassi Junior High Season 2, which I think was the same year, the first 2 episodes dealt with a character having an abortion, and that would not be allowed to be aired in the States. So yeah, definitely interesting to see, given how puritanical some American shows can get with this sort of thing.
Yeah. this isn't very good. I feel like they should have taken out the plague subplot, because that just because like the child is born, the child grows up, child dead.
It's kind of rapid with that, but at the same time, I feel like you could probably have dragged the plague storyline into a full episode. I don't know if the Ian stuff, like maybe if you had a different side, like subplot, maybe drive up the Wesley bits or something. And yeah, it like watching this on a coach on the way home from UK Games Expo with a bunch of kids very loudly chattering. Luckily, it meant the one that I was sat next to was facing away a lot of the time. But I literally had the iPad cradled like a baby in my arm, trying to keep it angled away from them with all the like soft focus Troi panting and all of that. And yeah, just like none of them need to see any of the ugly jumpers or anything. Like it meant the finale bit of it was like, oh my god, how's it still going? So yeah,
and I mean, hey, you know what? You know what show has a space babies episode and is a lot better about it?
Oh,
our good old friend Space 1999.
Ah,
Alien, child gets born, grows to adulthood disturbingly quickly, is actually maybe possessed by aliens and is evil. Unfortunately, the baby has the name Jack Crawford, which, again, not a good space name.
No, not great. Yeah, and there was what was it? Seymour Cassell was good fun in this as Hester Delta's. Like this guy's a bit of a weirdo, bit of a specialist, and very much that kind of like, he's very much into sorting out this plague thing. He's very particular, and I was surprised as like a proper name Hollywood person that was appearing even for a bit. He didn't die. Go like, oh yes, he's suffering plague. It's like, no, he's just going to be a bit eccentric. Come in, go out with all the plague stuff, which in a way, some of that sense of, yeah, like we won't always find out what the ending of a scenario is.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, they'll just drop a guy off and hopefully the plague will get sorted.
Yeah. We'll have a ship full of children and their families. We'll have that just shuttle a plague from one planet to the other.
Yeah.
This seems like a good idea, a plan with no drawbacks.
Yeah. I mean, apart from if a space baby is leaking weird radiation, just on the off chance that happens. Also, I have questions about the puppies.
Okay.
So, right. Does this mean that there is some Starfleet specialist or Federation specialist or whatever that goes ship to ship going like, I've got this litter of puppies, let's all have a play, maybe get one or two taken off my hands by people there. Like, are they like, why is there this handful of puppies?
I assume like it's just kind of one of those things that they have for like the children of like, because the Enterprise has like families on this ship. It's a community.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that they have like a dog like little puppy play area or a cat cafe. Maybe that's where Data adopted Spot.
Maybe there is like 12 or 13 cats on the ship, something like that. But yeah, it's interesting to see. And yeah, it's like, okay, does this woman and her like litter of puppies pop on a starbase? She's on a ship with the puppies, like entertaining folks, and then leave on the next starbase and onto a different ship, like
that would be the Starfleet career I want.
Yeah,
it's
like a fiction consultant.
It's it's like science, no. Exploration, no. Medical, fuck that. I just want to be on the puppy ship.
Yeah, exactly. That was. I don't know. It's always interesting and weird when you see that kind of thing and go, okay, it's not like she's selling puppies because they don't. Like, money's not a thing, but yeah, good fun.
Yeah, you want to be on the USS Puppy Bowl.
Definitely.
The USS Best Boy.
Oh, yes. Oh, and I don't normally notice this. Maybe it was having it really close to my face, like cradled in my iPad. But I did see that there was a thing showing the research associates on all this plague stuff. And it's only the writers and director of this, who again should know better. But yeah, it was like, oh, I know these names. And didn't know why. And then it's like, oh God, yes, it's because I wrote them down in the show notes.
I mean, it could be worse. This could have been written by Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah.
Because you know that the baby would be like a space god, and then JL would have to punch a baby to prove man's dominance over God. Actually, no, wait, that'd be awesome.
yeah. Like what, JL versus the baby from 2001.
Sorry, counselor, I have to punch this baby. Okay, now I want to commission an artist to draw Jean-Luc Picard punching out the space baby from 2001.
Before you do that, we need to have a look at our big old list and see where the child will fall.
And Dr. Pulaski was introduced, nah.
I came into it wanting to be like, oh no, she's cantankerous and a bit Bones-like. And the problem is, she immediately disrespects Data, who we all know from the first season is the best boy. It's, it's like, oh.
The thing is, the cantankerousness of Bones is matched by, the snottiness of Spock.
Yeah.
And whereas whenever Pulaski is getting on and Data about one, it always just feels like bullying because, Data doesn't have a snarky bone in his body. So no. it just feels like she's bullying him.
Yeah, it feels like, oh, it's all right. He doesn't have emotions. He won't feel bad about what I say. It's like, that's not a good thing.
Like you're essentially you're treating this like you're swearing at your ZX Spectrum.
Which nice timely reference. And yeah, I mean, I say that I was a Commodore 64 person, so I was cooler than the Spectrum ones. Yeah, just saying. Anyway, big list.
Big list.
Big list. We have our big list of best to worst. Currently standing strong at 163 entries. Our number 1 is Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Our number 50 is Prodigy with All the World's a Stage and some Starfleet-inspired accidental Prime Directive slips. At 100, the animated series is Eye of the Beholder with some weird giant pink slug elephant things. At 150, we have Voyager's Caretaker. And all the way down in 163, we still have Star Trek Section 31, where it's going to take a lot to depose that. Yeah, so where should the child go? Like, my eyes went to Encounter at Farpoint in 142, and it feels like Encounter at Farpoint is better than this.
I mean, this one isn't bad. It's just like it's a very much a non-episode.
Yeah.
See, I'm looking at 144, which is More Tribbles, More Troubles from the animated series, which is a lot more fun.
It is. Okay, so 146, we have Half of a Heist from Picard Season 2 with 2 of 1. I think that's their musical number part of it. Which isn't the worst. Like, again, we get some of Picard's grim, dark backstory of how JL is such a tormented anti-hero and all that. I think this is probably better than that.
Yeah, I would have to agree because, I'm going to remember some of the choices made in this episode, whereas this episode of Picard I kind of already forgotten.
Oh, I haven't. And yeah, aside from the musical number, it's not the heist episode I wanted it to be. And I fucking love heist episodes. So yeah, Okay, so that puts it at the new 146.
Man, that's quick for us. We usually spend like 10 minutes on these.
I mean, the good thing with this was it was pretty easy to aim low.
Yeah. I mean, this
I
is.
feel the middle's normally the most difficult one for us.
I mean, like, out of the 3 episodes we watch for today, I would say that this is as good as it gets.
Wow. Okay, I have some compliments about one of the others, but yeah, we'll get into that.
Space babies.
So, next up, we have Star Trek Voyager, Season 2, Episode 4, titled Elogium. This aired on the 18th of September 1995. Teleplay by Kenneth Biller and Jerry Taylor. Story by Jimmy Diggs and Steve J.K. And directed by Winrick Colby. The UK #1 hit was Michael Jackson with You're Not Alone. And the US had Coolio with Gangsta's Paradise. And my word, I wasn't ready to see 1995 Michael Jackson. That was rough. My word. It's like, oh dear, this is unfortunate. On the other hand, watching Gangsta's Paradise, I came away with the ice cold take of Michelle Pfeiffer pretty.
That, my God, revolutionary.
I know.
What a brave hot take.
So yeah, one of these is good, and it's not the Michael Jackson one.
Is this in his full Earth Song era? Like, he's gonna get mocked by Jarvis Cocker at the Brit Awards in like a couple of years' time.
It's that kind of thing. It's the kind of, he is almost bleach white. Like, enough surgery has happened that he looks very odd and is trying to dress like he wants to be Prince, and it looks uncomfortable.
Is this our first Michael Jackson song on the show?
We've had Janet Jackson on the list a couple of times.
We've had Janet Jackson,
but yeah, not Michael.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah, and yeah, we've definitely had Coolio before.
Yeah,
because any excuse to go back to Gangsta's Paradise. Because it's
better that than an Amish Paradise.
Well, yeah,
the Weird Al parody.
I know. I think I've heard it once. Weird Al, I don't know about you, just never made it for me over here.
I don't think Weird Al really had much of a huge musical presence in the UK.
No,
but, I don't know. And then it's like a weird kind of Robbie Williams reverse. Whereas everyone knows who Robbie Williams is in the UK, US. Who the fuck is this monkey? Who the hell is this monkey? Is a CGI monkey boy? And I guess for the 80s and 90s, it's the same with Weird Al.
Yeah, just never got over. On that note, what we'll get over is possibly you from the 5 minutes. But we'll see. We'll see if you do or don't. If you take longer than 5 minutes, then weird giant sacks are going to start growing on your back. It's an unfortunate thing of the nerd mating cycle. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Must be Tuesday.
Yes. Right. Well, you have 5 minutes. Start elogiuming now.
Chakotay catches a couple kissing in a turbo lift, and he's going to be blue-balled for the rest of the episode, and he's going to make it everyone's problems. If only he had a Romulan cuck chair. Tom Paris is helping Kez carry some cabbage to the mess hall, and Neelix is getting all Edward Cullen about it. He used to look at women that way, but not anymore. Kez, you changed me, baby. Chakotay feels that they should adopt a non-fraternization policy on the ship. Janeway is a little bit more lenient. It's only natural that the crew is going to start pairing up. Not her, though. She's the captain. Ooh, they're approaching a huge swarm of space-dwelling life forms. They get a little closer to investigate, and Kez immediately starts chowing down on the little spawn beetles they use to pollinate their cabbage crops. The swarm is speeding up. Ensign Wildman feels like they are scared by the Voyager. It looks like they feed off inorganic matter in space and naturally propel themselves through space. Chakotay muses that it's not leisurely dining for them, and we cut to Kez going whole hog on a ton of food. You get it? Huh? Huh?
Mm.
Neelix drops by to apologize with flowers and a mixtape. He admits that he was jealous of Tom, but he believes that Kez would never do anything suspicious, baby. She's a naive, innocent girl, not like that nasty old Tom, but not Neelix. Neelix is a nice guy. Neelix finds all of Kez's food. Turns out Ensign Wildman told Kez all about mashed potatoes and butter. Ensign Wildman has been here the whole time. Promise. Kez can't stop eating it, and she's mixed it with dirt, and it tastes real good to Kez. Neelix wants to take Kez to sickbay, and when Kez refuses, he picks her up and carries her. Can this marriage be saved? The Voyager is accelerating, being dragged into the swarm's gravitational field against their will. The impulse engines are offline. Warp works, but they can't use it without harming the creatures. Torres plans to create like an EMP field to nudge the creatures out of the way. In sickbay, Neelix is getting frantic. Even though the doctor is telling him there are no toxins in Kez's system, he's still worrying. The doctor thinks that there might be a connection between the creature's effects on the ship and what's happening to Kez. The doctor finally kicks Neelix out of the sickbay since he's getting real Karen about all this. And especially when Neelix pulls a "can I talk to the manager" and goes straight to Janeway to complain. The doctor calls Janeway that something's wrong. Kez has barricaded herself in his office with a force field. The doctor has completed his tests and recommend that they need to leave the swarm because it's affecting Kez in strange ways. Kez is now growing strange tumors on her back and she's delirious. To talk to her, but Kez knows what's happening to her. She's entering into the Elogium phase where her body becomes ready to have children, but she's too young for this. The Elogium only ever happens once in her race's life. If she doesn't have a child now, she never will. And on the bridge, Tom Paris's ears perk up immediately. Voyager is still being pulled along by the swarm. Kez is frightened. She has about 40 or 50 hours to make a decision. But as Janeway privately discusses with Chakotay, there's also the question on if Neelix is even genetically compatible, or even if he wants to be a father. Turns out Chakotay was right on the money earlier, but he wasn't even thinking about children earlier. But now he's realizing we're going to start replacing the crew because, in about 30 to 40 years, we're going to need a whole new crew. The idea of building a community on Voyager is daunting given the resources needed, but Janeway's not going to tell the crew that they can't have children. Neelix isn't sure if he wants to have children with Kez, especially since Kez is really young. Neelix asks if Kez would be unhappy if she didn't have a child, and Kez says yes before saying that she's not sure. She always just assumed that it would happen, just not so soon. Neelix never even gave much thought about being a father given his lifestyle. He's not sure if either of them are ready for the responsibility. Kez accuses them of being selfish and making excuses, and now she's growing mustard on her hands. It's going to take 6 days for them to conceive, linked together by mustard hands. But they still only have 50 hours to decide, and Neelix promptly nopes out. Tuvok comes into the mess hall, and Neelix, who is overwhelmed with worry about him being a parent and is basically giving the crew food poisoning, because of it, comes to Tuvok for advice. This is Tuvok's worst day. Tuvok admits that the subject is difficult. He's a father of 4 after all. It's overwhelming, and if Neelix has doubts, then he shouldn't become a father. But he also tells Neelix that becoming a father is incredibly rewarding. Neelix is starting to come around to the idea of having a son. He could teach his son dirty deals and how to have a sex, but is shocked at the idea that Kez might have a daughter.
Oh, on that horrible mental image.
Hey, that's what he tells. That's what he tells Tuvok. That's what
doesn't make it better. Jesus. Right. Okay, carry on quick.
Torres' EMP starts to safely disperse the creatures, and Voyager tries to leave. But the creatures in the swarm start changing color and attaching themselves to the ship's warp nacelles, causing more loss to ship systems. And just like Qui-Gon Jinn said in episode 1, there's always a bigger fish. As a huge one of the creatures arrives, possibly a parent? As Voyager tries to escape, the large creature fires a plasma stream at the ship. Torres thinks they should attack, but Janeway feels that it might just be acting as it does indigenously. The swarm creatures are attaching themselves to the bigger creature. The plasma blast was actually a pheromone to attract the smaller creature for mating. That's why the smaller creatures have been swarming Voyager. Their plasma emissions are very similar, and they thought Voyager was one of their species. thinking they're a mate. Leave me to a quote from a much better episode of Red Dwarf when Lister says, "It's a big creature. It's either going to kill us, eat us, or hump us." Neelix rushes intoKez's quarters. "Let's be parents. Let's have the sex." Kez has to have her feet massaged until her tongue Oh my god. So much of the stuff that is happening in this episode is in someone's R34 like breeding thick. I think we're in a Megaverse territory here. Anyway, Kez has to have her feet massaged until her tongue swells, and it has to be either of her parents, but since they're not here, well, the doctor's gonna have to do it. Janeway's busy. Although the doctor gets too into it on like a scientific method, Kez has doubts and asks the doctor if this is the right thing to do. The doctor is the closest thing she has to her father right now, but the doctor has no real concept of family. After all, he's a hologram. The doctor doesn't have that perspective, but in talking to him, Kez realizes that as long as Neelix was opposed to having children, she was down to have kids. But now that he's okay with the whole mustard hands and swelling tongue thing, she's having doubts. Maybe she was only feeling that she should have a child because she could. But she feels that she isn't ready to have a child because she's still growing herself. The large creature starts ramming against Voyager. Humpus. Chakotay has an idea. Maybe they need to appear submissive to the large creature by acting like the small... Again, like, this is somebody's Rule 34 pick on AO3. They do a barrel roll, venting plasma to appear that they're changing color. The smaller creatures start drifting away. They've lost their sex appeal, much like me when I try and do an American accent. Kez has decided not to have the child, and Neelix is disappointed. Even though he does respect her choice, honest love, he does. He's a nice guy. He's done reading and talking about his feelings and everything. But he had gotten into the idea of being a father. But it turns out that the field created by the creatures may have brought on a false Elogium, and that she might be able to conceive when she reaches the proper time. But Neelix is adamant that she have a daughter, just like Kez. That's not creepy in and of itself.
Oh.
In her log, Janeway is worried about the environment that they could provide for any child born on Voyager, but she won't dictate what the crew can and cannot get up to in her own private time. Ensign Wildman, who's been here since day one, arrives at her door with some important news. She's pregnant with her husband, who's back on Deep Space Nine. Wildman knows Voyager isn't the best environment, but it's all she has left of her husband right now. And Janeway offers her congratulations.
God. 3 minutes 42, that was rough.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, seriously. I think most of the stuff that happens in this episode are AO3 tags.
See, I think you and I are approaching this from different directions. Because you sent me that police squad, the writer's barely hidden fetish, the one that comes into anyone's mind when people talk about Chris Claremont. And, well, are all of these someone's fetish? And I'd finished with all 3 of the episodes. It was like, 2 of them maybe. Like one of them feels like someone really fucking hates pregnancy and the idea of it. Because this like, is Voyager the body horror show out of them? Because we saw Threshold. We saw Tom Paris eat his own tongue and laugh about it, and now we've got like weird egg sack back.
No!
Kez.
The horror sting is the moment when Kez realizing that she's snacking on beetles, and it is a proper horror close up with a slightly distorted lens.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know Brian Fuller was in the room for a bit of Voyager, and it's like, okay, was like before he left because he was writing 2 human characters for like Berman and Braga, but yeah, just some of these moments where you go like, okay, so Kess is going to have to, like, she's got weird wet what's-it hands.
Mustard hands.
Yeah, and she's going to have to be physically locked into contact with Neelix for 6 hours? 6 days?
6 days.
6 days. Now, I think I could tolerate being in a room with Neelix for maybe 6 minutes before I would have to forgo my whole man of peace thing. And
do you know what? Briefly doing a tangent to a much better treatment of sex in science fiction.
Yeah.
Barbarella,
Oh yeah.
where in the future sex has been replaced by holding hands and taking a pill.
Mm.
But no, all of Kez's pregnancy
Oh
just
my god.
sounds like horrible to a ludicrous degree. It's like, okay, I'm growing tumors on my back, which is where the child's going to get carried. And then we have mustard hands, and we're going to be licked for 6 days. And that's the part I remember from watching this episode back on BBC One. But I thought, like, what happened was, like, she would form a cocoon around them for 6 days. But no, they're just, what if Neelix has to go pee?
Yeah. I mean, he will. He'll have to.
Yeah.
What if he talks? Again, that's likely. You can't stop him.
Well, maybe that's why her tongue has to enlarge to basically, I don't know, absorb genetic material by stopping him by like blocking his mouth like the Prometheus alien.
Oh, again, this feels like someone really feels uncomfortable about the whole concept of pregnancy.
And then
you know,
I was reading like
God.
the Tor.com rewatch of this episode, and then also put up a very important point. Kez's species lives for about 7 years.
Yeah.
So surely, like, to make sure that their race keeps up a decent population, they would have to be dropping babies like every 6 months. Like, they would have to be breeding like rabbits.
God. Oh, and it's all just going to be this steaming mass of mustard hands, and like I assume like multiple egg sacs growing on the back, and all that, and
I don't know.
Again, how do the camper exist? Like you'd go this gross. I know this is a biological process, but frankly, this grosses out even me.
I don't know. I feel like some of this stuff, like this has to have been originally intended to be a comedy, because so much of Kez's pregnancy symptoms feel like they should be in a comedy episode.
And you say that, like Neelix acts like a preemptive deadbeat dad through so much of this, of like, oh, he's faffing about backwards and forwards, and of course everything's too late in the end. Like he starts off just going, you know, oh, I'm jealous of Tom Paris. Oh, I used to be a bad boy. I used to be a real piece of shit. Slick back hair, sloppy steaks, the usual. But like all the way through, like my main notes are like, just me going, fucking hell, Neelix. Like what on earth? Like,
Yeah.
and Kes knows, like it feels like she needs guidance from someone because she's about to mate with a fundamentally unserious person. And this might be her only opportunity. Fucking hell.
I mean, like, I don't know. In a better episode of this, would she have tried Tom Paris?
Just go, look, Neelix, we're together, but look in the mirror. Just look in the mirror, think about it. We know this can't happen. Like, it should not happen.
I mean, like, if Neelix gets cold feet, she's like, well, fuck it, I'm going to Tom.
Yeah.
He'll be down.
Like, look, you want to be the Del Boy of space? You be the Del Boy of space.
Yeah. Like, you know, like, because the thing is, you know that Tom Paris is Starfleet. He'd be like, okay, mustard hands, tongue. Got this. This is fine.
Like, she is on the right starship for it, because a good percentage of the people there, even as disgusting as the Elogium is, would go like either, well, it's my duty, or, yeah, fuck it, I'll try anything once.
Like Tom would be down, and he would want Harry there for all 6 days.
Film it.
To make scientific notes.
Exactly. You know, he'd be too in the moment himself, so he'd need someone there as his official recorder for it. God.
Like Harry, I need proof that I spent 6 days having a sex.
Exactly. Yeah, that will be his takeaway. Like, do not ask me any follow-up questions. I needed to shower for a lot longer. But
He's trying to pilot the ship, and they find out that Kez has to mate with someone for 6 days. Tom just immediately stands up and goes, "I must go. My boner needs me."
Still, he'll never be able to look at a hot dog the same way again.
Oh my god.
Oh. So yeah, it's God. Again, watching this on a crowded coach. It's like, oh no. Oh dear. And just like, I think I did say fucking hell Neelix out loud. Like, he is just too silly to be a father. And I'd say that I come from a silly family. My father was a silly man. My grandfather was a silly man. But still, Neelix is so much worse.
I feel sorry for Ethan Phillips.
Yeah.
Because as we saw in Trottrell, he can act. Like, he can actually, when he gets given the material, he can make Neelix actually have some kind of depth. But I feel like this is the episode which makes everyone go, fuck off, Neelix.
Well, yeah, like, he feels very much like a character you'd get in a secondary school drama class where the kids have had to come up with a performance on their own. And it's got to be about their issues. It's going to be about getting teenage pregnant.
Oh, God. I'm just
and the dad.
I'm just imagining... You used to watch The League of Gentlemen,
Oh, God,
right?
Yeah.
I'm just imagining Legs Akimbo. Like, the overly dramatic, like, theatre company who do plays about issues for children.
God, yeah, they would have someone acting exactly the way Neelix did here.
Like, I need to also say something that also disgusts me.
Yeah.
Chakotay has a point, but in completely the wrong way.
Of course it's in the wrong way. Like the cold open where he was like, oh, people kissing. On there, it's like, mate, you weren't Starfleet. Like, you were part of the Marquee. Like, you were booted out. You're only in now by default. Surely you should be a bit fine with people not obeying Starfleet rules. But the problem is, when you've got someone like Janeway who goes, yeah, it's going to happen. Like, deal with it. You need someone to bounce off of. And, like, it's not going to be Tuvok because it's a logical approach, so it has to be Chakotay. Yep. Even though it feels like a not great approach to go, oh, no fraternization is allowed here for what? For 75 years.
Yeah. And, like, it was kind of funny because Janeway goes, you had a point, and Chakotay goes, oh, no, I just don't like people, I don't like to catch people kissing. Shit, I was wrong about everything else.
Yeah, thanks, Vocel Chakotay. Jesus.
Okay, do you have to say, there is some good Janeway in this episode.
There is. I mean, like, Janeway's great anyway, normally. I saw someone on Blue Sky, quote, skeeting or whatever, someone going, oh, Janeway's the worst captain. It's like, mate.
No.
Mate, this is a very wrong take. Like, it's difficult to identify a bad captain out of this lot. Because, Archer's fine, but, Janeway is not bad.
I feel the trouble with Archer is that the character really works against Scott Bakula's very natural charm. And I feel if they had made Archer a lot less angry about the Vulcans and just let him be more kind of, like, play into those very because he's definitely the first Star Trek captain since Kirk who has that kind of very early Kirk that charm, that kind of square-jawed, like, space hero kind of attitude. Yeah, the scene where she's talking to Kez, and then later when she's talking to Wildman, like, I think, like, this is where we see, like, Janeway be kind of tough, but also the moments where she does get to be where she has a very kind of maternal attitude to the crew, and I'm not saying that in a patronizing way, where she's just like, yeah, they're gonna fuck, just let them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, it's something which establishes her as both, like, able to be empathetic and human, as well as incredibly practical. And frankly, if the Starfleet rules have to get nudged out of place slightly, so be it.
Yeah, really. And as we saw with Jean-Luc with Picard, the moment he finds out Troi is pregnant, he's just like, yep, nope, I'm going to approach some very rational. I'm not going to hug anyone.
No.
Meanwhile, Janeway's like, okay, Kez, hug it in.
Yeah,
Hug it
do you
in.
need a moment? I've met your boyfriend. Come here, let's have a hug. Cry
Like,
if you need to.
Do you want us to replicate some chamomile tea?
Exactly. Yeah. One of the surprising things, looking at the notes about this episode, is this was inspired by Vietnam. I will elaborate because which piece? Well, yeah, the fish, not the pregnancy horrors. Like, yeah, one of the writers, Jimmy Diggs, used his memories of being on a ship in Vietnam and seeing a bunch of kind of glistening fish going after them, chasing after the light of the ship. And he was like, oh, we could use that. And then, yeah, it kind of got caught up on the whole, yes, something trying to bang the ship thing.
This is a surprisingly, this is horny for Star Trek, but not in the way Star Trek is usually horny.
Yes, yeah, there's definitely an amount of that. So, God, where does this monstrosity go?
Okay, I will say one thing. You know what? Tuvok's one scene with Neelix, where he actually manages to be helpful to Neelix, at no point tries to kill him.
Yes, I'd say it shows growth, but this is only season 2. Like, this is start of season 2. It was meant for season 1.
It's nice to see a Vulcan be a good parent.
Yes. Yeah, looking at you, Sarek.
Unlike Sarek, Tuvok is just like, I've had 4 children, and I have not tried to eat any of them. This is not good.
No, as much as I like horror, the wrong kind.
I mean, horror involving The Omen, Rosemary's Baby, Alien, Prometheus.
Love them.
It would be weird if in Prometheus, Michael Fassbender just started massaging Liz Shaw's feet. He just starts massaging the feet of the blue space guy until his tongue expands.
Yeah, that'd be weird. So, our big list. Currently, our worst Voyager episode is also from season 2. It's at the 152nd place on the list. The Thor with an evil clown. Again, weirdly horror-y. Do you reckon this is better or worse than the evil clown?
I think the evil clown is somewhat better.
Yeah,
but,
I think.
Also, okay, watching this episode, is it me, or is the Voyager set itself just really boring?
It really is.
It's really just grey and just unexciting.
I mean, I've criticized it previously, ages ago when BSG was out, going, that's a set that is interesting and it gets fucked up over time, because it would. But yeah, this feels like it's more. It needs more of that. It needs some kind of growth.
It just needs something.
Yeah, it needs anything.
Okay. See, the thing is, this was bad, but it's not the bottom 3 on our list. We have at number 164, Star Trek Section 31. At 163, we have Plato's Stepchildren, a TOS episode. And then at 162, we have Strange New Worlds, Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach.
I mean,
and I feel that this is not as bad as any of those. It is. No. Okay, the bad, because honestly, the worst bits is just the fact that Neelix is just such an such a repugnant character. And it really seems to be his viewpoint that the show seems to be angling towards from this episode. It's not Kez worrying about being a parent or whether she wants to have children is framed on her reaction to Neelix.
It's got some interesting moments, but so does Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach, really.
Yeah.
I think like looking at this, like you stopped with lift us, but 161's future tense, which is like it commits the cardinal sin of being dull.
Yeah,
This at least isn't that.
this is not dull. Even if the Elogium pregnancy sounds like something a writer would do in a parody of weird science fiction genetics.
Just again, who hurt you, writers of this? Like, what went wrong?
Okay, I am looking at 157 lower decks of mathematically perfect redemption. So, what is better, fucking Peanut Hamper or fucking Neelix?
Oh god. See, I was going to say that I think the Elogium is better because the horrible questions it raises are more entertaining to me. But yeah, if it has to be, like, yeah, who would you fuck, Neelix or Peanut Hamper? That's, I guess, turn the phaser on myself.
Yeah, I mean, like, Peanut Hamper's the worst.
Yeah.
At least with Neelix, you may want to shower for like 20 minutes afterwards in like carbolic soap. But at least he's going to cook you a meal. I get the feeling like Neelix is going to cook you a breakfast afterwards. It's like, we have had the sex, now a breakfast spread.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, what, are you saying above or below mathematically perfect redemption then?
Above, because I still somehow feel more charitable towards Neelix than I ever feel towards Peanut Hamper, and I never feel charitable towards Peanut Hamper.
That is entirely fair. Okay.
Also, we have seen like we've seen Neelix do good things. We have Neelix being an interesting character.
Oh hell yeah.
And
it is doable.
Meanwhile, like Peanut Hamper is just irritating. Even when they become a good character, I still find them irritating.
Yes. I'm pleased that the end of it all didn't have to bring the end of Lower Decks didn't have to do much more with Peanut Hamper. Okay. So that's our second episode ranked.
Space babies.
Finally, our third episode, which is Star Trek Enterprise Season 1, Episode 5, titled Unexpected. This aired on the 17th of October 2001. Written by Rick Berman and Brannon Braga. Yeah, the big dogs themselves. Directed by Mike Voyager. The UK number one hit was Kylie Minogue with Can't Get You Out of My Head. And the US number one hit was Alicia Keys' Fallen. Yeah, similar to last time, actually. My main takeaways were Kylie Minogue and Alicia Keys. Pretty. Also, yeah, God, it's been ages since I've heard any Kylie.
See,
but yeah.
The thing is, the moment I heard this song, it immediately made me think back to how it was used in the Rogue episode of Doctor Who 2 seasons ago. Because it's the bit where the Doctor's trapped in a force field and he just starts playing Kylie on the sound system, and you get some peak, I'm not always a fan of when the Doctor intentionally tries to be sexy.
Yeah.
Because I'm as old, despite how old I am and how much my opinions have changed, there's always a part of me which is like, the Doctor shouldn't like sex.
Wow.
But
okay.
But again,
I'm sorry for you for most of Shooty's
let me finish. It's like, you know what? If I woke up one day and I looked like Ncuti Gatwa, or if I looked like Paul McGann, I would definitely be like, okay, I look sexy now.
Fair.
And Ncuti Gatwa, as a relatively mostly straight cis white man, I can admit that Ncuti is very attractive, as is Paul McGann.
Yeah.
And also, but a young John Hurt, who was also the Doctor, but young John Hurt, my God, that man was distractingly sexy.
Yeah, someone that mostly remembered him from Jim Henson's Storyteller. It's always a surprise seeing young John Hurt.
Star of the Elephant Man, John Hurt.
Yes. God, yeah, I skipped ahead in my in my watch through of David Lynch films and need to get back to it because
Oh man, Elephant.
we skipped ahead to Dune because we'd seen Dune Part 2 and we're like, kind of want to see the Lynch Dune again. And so
Man.
Elephant Man sadly got lost in
The Elephant Man is a beautiful
Shovelware.
film.
So, what's slightly less beautiful here is unexpected. I'll get in the weird pressure chamber to deal with the atmosphere on the recap side.
Yep, and then you can just start moving your webcam around like an episode of Farscape.
Yeah,
That's what they were trying. I swear that's what they were trying to do.
It did feel a bit like that, didn't it? Yeah, that may affect my rating. Anyway.
All right, and go.
So, Archer's in the shower, and gravity does a weird hiccup thing, making water float. Oh boy! At the breakfast buffet, Phlox points out T'Pol's bland Vulcan breakfast. He suggests blueberry pancakes, which, no offense, but that's a pretty bland pancake. She goes for some fizzy water and gets black goo instead. In engineering, Trip's putting out fires, non-literal. Oh wait, no, there are also literal fires. We'd best cancel warp, slow down a bit, figure out what's wrong. They ignite a charge nearby and see a shadow of a sneaky little ship. They're hailed and asked, don't harm us. Honest, we're nice. And these aliens, these Irillians, have been piggybacking off of plasma trails after their engine fell apart. Trip needs to go over to their ship for 3 days and is really excited until he ends up in a tube filled with burning gas. He keeps calling Archer every couple of minutes, wanting it to be over, but it's going to be hours. Luckily, this all lets us see Porthos briefly as Archer's feeding him. And Porthos, you continue to be the best boy. When Trip arrives, he meets some scaly aliens and is all spaced out. They suggest he rest for an hour, but he really wants to be out of here. There's so much to do, so he just wants to get on with it. While working on the engines, he calls Archer again and again, saying, oh, it's too much. And Archer decides, fine, my good old boy here, he'll respect me if I order him to rest. And he actually does. When he wakes up, he's a lot better. An alien woman called Alen is there to greet him. She offers him food, which grows on the walls. Ooh, aren't we weird? He's not keen on that. He tries some water in handy cube form and actually kind of likes the little electric shocks coming from their contact, and they're definitely having a moment. Trip radios over to Archer, a lot more excitable now, and reckoning it won't take long at all to fix everything. Alen shows Trip a room of that kind of, that prismatic sticker paper you had as a kid. It's like a room full of that. And it's kind of some sort of deck, and it's about holograms. Somehow it's interesting. It might catch on. She shows him a game about putting your hands in some wet crystals and reading each other's minds. Again, some interesting electric shock type things. And he can tell that she likes him, and she can tell that he likes that she likes him. Trip returns with a ton of stories for eager young Travis to hear, and the captain of the alien ship says thanks, as does Alen, and then they're off. Trip eats with Reed, who asks about their weapons first, and then about whether or not he scored. Trip doesn't weird crystal finger dip and tell, but he does go, yeah, I kind of liked the scales. I was into it, and then he realizes he's got a weird nodule on his wrist. He goes to see Phlox, and it turns out it's a nipple. Ha! Phlox asks if he got his dick wet on the other ship, as, he appears to have been mpregged. Apparently, the Zilurians are kind of like the Asari from Mass Effect. They use all the mum's genetic code. But in this case, the men act as hosts. Everyone calls Trip a dirty dog for what he did. And he says, no, I was a gentleman the whole time. Oh, wait, maybe it was the weird little crystal pebble box mind meld thing. That could have been it. T'Pol loves giving Trip shit for all of this. Trip gets short with someone for work after 8 days in, and he's wearing a loose shirt to cover signs for he's been mpregged, and he reckons someone's told rumours about how he's knocked up. He's really hungry, he's growing more nipples. Flock says it's still going to be 5 to 6 days until his due. Archer reckons this is the first in-species pregnancy, which Memory Alpha refutes, but good on you, we'll let them have this. They find the Zerillians hiding, following a Klingon battle cruiser of all things. Fuck. Now they need to do some diplomacy. The Klingons use their diplomacy of mainly shooting at the Enterprise. And the Enterprise explains, hang on, we know you've got engine problems. It's these guys, don't kill them. Don't kill them. They're all right, actually. And T'Pol basically says how the Klingon High Council actually love Archer because of all the pilot episode stuff.
Oh. All right, Charlie.
Yep.
How many extra nipples do you want?
What?
I mean,
I don't want any extra nipples.
Well, you didn't recap the episode in the full 5 minutes, so you're gonna grow extra nipples. So
okay. Now I worked with someone who had a third nipple, and
Okay.
I figure 2, like make it an even number at least,
Okay,
hopefully symmetrical.
do you have any dice nearby?
Yes.
What do you have?
Mainly D6s.
Okay, roll 2d6s and add 3.
Uh-oh. I've rolled 5.
Okay, so is that adding the 3?
No. So that's
Okay.
8 in total.
So you're gonna grow 8 extra nipples as punishment.
Fine, at least it's an even number.
All right. Okay, and are you ready? Now that you are extra nippled,
Yep.
now that you are multi-nipped,
I mean, it's making resting my arms on this chair a bit awkward now.
all right. Well, just keep one nip on the mute button and prepare to finish your recap.
Will do. So, yeah, T'Pol big ups Archer in the eyes of the Klingon High Council, saying, all that pilot episode, you saw Broken Bow. It was great. They love him. And the Klingons actually believe him and will accept the hologram technology the Zerillians have in return for letting them live. Maybe they could use it as some sort of cloaking device. Trip proves that he needs to join the Klingons on the Zerillian ship by showing off his bulge, and everyone laughs. Alan mentions, oh yeah, didn't realise we were actually compatible. Sorry. Oops. We'll get that out of you and put in someone else, alright? But the baby looks healthy, so yay. The Klingons say Archer's debt, the debt they have to Archer is paid. Now fuck off. And the Enterprise does. And Archer, in a meal with Trip and T'Pol, asks, is it true the Klingon High Council like me? And T'Pol's like, no, I was just playing it up exactly the same way they would. Also, T'Pol mentions that Trip isn't just the first recorded interspecies pregnancy, but the first recorded mpreg. Congratulations, Charles Trip Tucker III.
You are 1 minute 31 over.
Yeah, T'Pol had some.
And also, we've seen Broken Bow. It's number 161 on the big list.
Yeah, we have. You'd hope those Klingons would have listened to our episode on it, but, apparently not. So, I know that Jolene Blalock was not an actress at the start of this, and was a little wooden here and there, but she had a lot of fun being salty during this.
See, this is kind of funnier in the fact that, like, Trip and T'Pol have, like, the romance later on in the show.
Yep. Remember when I made fun of you for your extra nipples? So, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cried for weeks.
So many nipples.
Remember when I, a Vulcan, a species not known for laughing, also laughed with all of the Klingons and all of the bridge crew at your really unfortunate circumstances? Like, how would you come to work the next day? You're like, yeah, I'm free from it, but I know all of you fuckers, all of you laughed at me. Like, and the Klingons did. They've got it in their histories now.
Hell, he's now in the history books as the first mpreg.
He is. Yes, which for people that are blessedly not as internet savvy, yeah, mpreg is a male pregnancy. It's a thing, often in fan fiction, sometimes in science fiction like this. There wasn't as much making fun of it in a cruel way as there could have been. It was just all condensed into that one moment on the bridge.
Has Christopher S. Claremont ever dabbled in mpreg?
I'm sure he has. Like, again, does the brood count? Because if so, then yes.
True. Yes.
Yeah, and probably at other points. But yeah, I know Quasar got pregnant at one point, but that wasn't a Chris Claremont one.
It's Quasar.
Yeah, I mean, no one... Sorry, one person, former guest star Matt Hardy, reads Quasar, and literally no one else. Speaking of which, if you like War of the Worlds, go back his Kickstarter for Thunderchild. There we go. Duty done. Yeah. Love you, Matt. You'll be on for Star Trek Transformers at some point, and we will all suffer.
Which, which will hopefully be before Star Trek Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean, I need to find a copy of it, so who knows when it'll happen. But yeah, this was it wasn't the worst Enterprise episode.
No, it's not. It's just my God.
I liked the weird trippiness with the aliens, but as you say, it's probably very Farscape coded.
It's very Farscape, and Farscape would do if Farscape had done an episode where Crichton had accidentally got knocked up by an alien,
I wouldn't be shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked, and it'll probably be a lot better. And the father would probably be Scorpius, because it's always Scorpius.
Yeah. I mean, that aired 2 years prior to this, so it was just getting really weird shortly before Enterprise was airing. So yeah, I was surprised because what I tend to do is note down the air date, cast, and potentially any points of interest to keep an eye out for before beginning. And so, first appearance of holodeck technology, I was like, oh no, this is going to be like in Discovery, where they have a weird kind of not quite holodeck, but it's very much an advanced holodeck. But no, it was good seeing that it was alien technology and it was weird. Like, they made a holodeck, but it was kind of weird. And even with Trip being like, oh, I don't know if they could have done organic things with this, but they did water and they did cities, and that's fascinating.
And they did pregnancy crystals.
Yeah, that was weird. Like, yeah, those were holodeck weird glowy crystal things. Like, what was Ellen thinking with that? That was...
I did like the atmosphere difference part, because for the most part with Star Trek, all aliens are humanoid, and all humanoid aliens all exist with, breathing oxygen, Earth-style oxygen, and no differentiations. I mean, I think the one is I think there's that one alien which has that little mouthpiece in front of it, which pumps out a gas. But for the most part, all Star Trek aliens exist in the same gravity, atmosphere, whichever.
Yeah, barring one or two exceptions, it's generally like that. So it was very satisfying to see them. Initially they had to wait for the language to kick in, and then it's going to be a couple of hours of adjusting to the pressure, and then you're in. And of course, Trip's kind of got the bends a bit, and being who he is, it's like, no, I'll get to it. It's like, no, this is going to make it worse. I liked the excessive weirdness of the Silurians, like the plants giving food off of the walls. It's not ultimately very hygienic, but sure.
It might be hygienic.
It might be, yeah, true.
We just assume that you bring your pitiful human concepts of hygiene to wall moss.
Yeah. And yeah, the weird water cubes and all of that. So, okay, good. Yeah, and I liked that before and after his trippy experience, Trip was very excitable about all this. That, like, yeah, he's got that sense of wonder and exploration. He's not just, a potential space good old boy going to bring Earth's ways over. Apparently, Connor Trenier, Trip's actor, felt this is where his voice started to appear. And having seen the pilot and the episode where he gets all hallucinating and disorientated and all that. So yeah, you can see that he is beginning to feel more like Trip and more like a distinctive voice from Archer as well, even though he will keep calling him and going, "Boss, it's weirder than I thought. I don't like it. I'm scared. Don't like it." It felt odd sending him on his own, actually, with that. But yeah, I guess just in case the atmosphere accidentally turned him inside out or something.
Yeah, or made him pregnant. Oh wait.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Okay. Fire extinguishers. For the amount of times we see stuff blow up in Star Trek, we very rarely see fire extinguishers.
True.
So it was nice to see an actual proper fire extinguisher being used.
Well, same as we said with the pilot back in episode 2 of our show, seeing a practical set for the engineering. It wasn't just the very toyetic grey bit that they stand on top of, but the bits lower down where it's all vaguely industrial looking and all that. It's like, yeah, this is good. Like your weird lift and all that, which, Trip does point out when he's in a kind of pregnancy-induced bit of kind of rattiness of like, oh, this isn't very safe. And it's like, I mean, I get that this is for hormones, but also he is kind of right.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. Do you think anyone did blab, or it was just Trip being paranoid?
I mean, my first thought was that no one blabbed, but then there is like the cook, which it feels weird them having, bring the food in, boy, that kind of thing with their dinner. It's like, mate, like, I mean, I know Janeway wouldn't do that because Neelix would fuck it up.
Yeah,
but that felt weird. Of like, yes, the captain's table, and we will have someone deliver us our food, like we're nobility. That was odd, but like, I mean, they probably were discreet. They probably just stand around and go, "I'm not going to talk about any of this." So yeah, I think that no one blabbed.
I don't think anyone blabbed. I just think everyone going, man, Trip's been a real dick this last week. I know.
He's been a dick. And have you seen it? He's out of uniform. He's taking this friendship with Archer too far, pushing his luck. He should dress in a uniform like the rest of us.
So do you think he got that? Do you think he bought that shirt from M&S? Or do you think he got it from Asda? He fucking got it from Asda, didn't he?
Primark.
Primark, cheap ass bastard.
Yeah, a bit of Primani. There.
Well, I feel that Archer should have been a bit more compassionate to Trip's condition, considering that Scott Bakula was also pregnant in an episode of Quantum Leap.
True.
But unlike Trip, he actually had to give birth to the baby.
Yes. Yeah, and this time the growth, like, I mean, out of the 3, Voyager felt like the definite body horror episode. This felt a little wackier with the growth of varied random nipples and the kind of, like, even the bulge was slightly less.
I think it just becomes that thing of, oh, it's a guy who's pregnant, then inherently that's comedic.
Of course.
And of course, this was 2001. Let's be honest, if Friends could have had an episode where Ross was pregnant, they would have.
Oh, it'd have been a terrible mother. Yeah, God. But yes, this was right. I think the weirdness of the aliens, the Ceruleans, was definitely the best part for me.
Yeah.
When the Klingons arrived, I was like, "What? This feels like too many extra things." But luckily, it wasn't too bad. And of course, big foreshadowing of holodecks and cloaking devices, all because Trip got knocked up.
Nice one,
You're
Trip.
welcome.
Although I always thought the Klingons got the cloaking device from the Romulans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
Remember, that was the whole thing of that.
So yeah, maybe. So does this mean that the Klingons got holodecks first?
Yeah, but they broke it.
Yeah, probably.
They broke it, and they were too proud to go. Can we get someone? They're too proud.
But we fought too hard and accidentally broke it.
You know that Klingons don't have customer support because to phone up customer support and ask, "Look, can you send a man around to fix our shit?" is too dishonorable.
Yeah. Yeah, I threw a bat left and it went in the computer. Now we have no computer.
Yes,
I'm sad.
Yes, I have tried turning it off and on again.
Exactly. So, yeah, God, where do we put this on the list? Now, you were saying you figured that the child would be the higher of these episodes. Are you still in this point?
Ooh,
Oh God! Actually, looking at all of this, weirdly enough, the host in TNG is also kind of a bit like this, given it's Riker getting a trill slug.
I mean, okay. I mean, I'm sure that there are mpreg fics where the person who's been mpregged immediately tries it on with the mpregged's girlfriend. I'm sure that's a whole AO3 category.
Oh God, bound to be. Yeah, that's anyway. So currently in 146 is the child. Is this better or worse than the child?
You know what? I will take the L and say this was actually better than the child.
It kind of was.
I mean, the trial. I feel like my biggest complaint with this episode is that Trip's condition is treated a bit too comically, but because a man getting pregnant, why that's a recipe for hilarity.
Oh. Yeah, I mean that said, if Trip was a woman, I don't feel it'd be a million miles away from what we experienced.
No,
given the kind of freaky alienness of it, and at least he consented to weird finger glowy stuff.
But at the same time, that it wouldn't have ended with the Klingons laughing at him.
No,
laughing at her for getting pregnant.
That is true. Yeah.
Are you pregante?
So, a few spots up in 142, we have Encounter at Farpoint. Better or worse?
I don't know. Okay, technically,
go on.
As a piece of television,
better.
Yeah, but I don't like story-wise, and I mean, they're both equally messes in their own ways.
They really are. Okay,
but I don't think anyone is watching their career die in real time as Patrick Stewart is, and at least Encounter at Farpoint has, good old John DL playing Q, so you have that.
Yeah. Okay. Under that, we got Lost and Found, the pilot episode for Star Trek Prodigy, which doesn't feel too much like a Star Trek, but there is better to come.
Yes.
With it.
Okay, above that is number 144. Below that is 144, more troubles, more tribbles. And man,
speaking of pregnancy,
is this better or worse than Tribble body horror?
Oh my god.
Is Trip body horror better than Tribble body horror?
I think maybe only just. Like, this has the weird farscapiness, the kind of like trippy sequence on the alien ship, and yeah, and again, T'Pol being entertainingly salty, which, alas, More Trouble, More Tribbles doesn't have anything of that kind of level, even if it does have the ultimate horror of tribbles that just fill up with more and more tribbles and die and then eventually explode in a giant dribble ball, which, dear God.
Again, also a tag on AO3.
Yeah, probably. Tribble
Oh my
Tribble fanfic.
Oh my god! I got really bored. I think we could just have an episode where we just go down the list and go, okay, what AO3 tags would this have?
God, it feels almost like it'd be vengeance from fellow podcaster Sam Wilkinson from Chat Out of Hell, where I pointed him to a website where people wrote down their fantasies about Jim Steinman, as Chat Out of Hell is a Jim Steinman Meatloaf podcast, and that ended up being their Christmas Hell episode, where they were covering people's often sexual fantasies about Jim Steinman. And sometimes definitely not sexual fantasies, but still kind of
course
fantasies
not, yes.
about Jim Steinman. Anyway, so that would mean this would be at 144 on our big list. And yeah, if you've not heard it before, I do implore you to listen to Chat Out of Hell in general, but also their Christmas Hell episode, which I don't think I've inflicted that much horror into a person aside from Miles here, who for 67 episodes plus change has had to deal with all of this.
I mean, this is not. I mean, given the other,
no blood has been shed here.
No blood has been shed, and thankfully, my damage in other podcasts I've guested on has not been too terrible. I do enjoy Hawk the Slayer.
Yes. Yeah, that was a fun episode, actually. I meant to tell you. I heard that and enjoyed Breakfast in the Ruins, guest starring Miles, talk about Hawk the Slayer. Of course, space references were made. Anyway, that's it for us here on Casual Trek. You've heard us shilling other podcasts.
Now let us shill our own!
Yeah, so go to Ko-fi.com/Casual Trek, sling us some money, and we will cover an episode of your choice. Casual Trek is over on Blue Sky on casualtrek.bsky.social, and people can find me on skyshark.bsky.social and whodasrolls.com, where all of my UK Games Expo articles will hopefully be up by the time this airs, and I'll be on to the next thing. I can't remember what the next thing is, but hope you enjoy it. Miles, what about you?
Okay, you can find me on Blue Sky at milesreadlabato.bsky.social and on my blog at mareadlabato.wordpress.com. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I will be appearing on the first episode of a new podcast, on a guest, on a podcast which is talking about all the Hugo Award-winning science fiction novels. And so I was talking about the very first Hugo-winning novel, which is Alfred Bester's The Demolished Man. Oh. And it's weird because I felt, this is a more academic podcast, so I kind of had to put my serious hat on and not make as many...
Your pipe and smoking jacket.
And not make as many, jokes about poo as I am known to do.
Well, yes. Everyone knows this about you. What's the name of this podcast?
I don't know. I can't remember yet because they're still editing the first 2 episodes. So when I know, I will get back to you.
So hopefully it's in the show notes.
Hopefully it's in the show notes.
Cool. That sounds like a lot of fun. Excellent. And what might be a lot of fun is next episode.
Oh.
We're watching. Oh,
I have one more. I will be appearing yet again on Breakfast in the Ruins.
uh-oh.
I think it's coming out shortly, where we talk about Michael Moorcock's science fiction novel, The Sundered Worlds,
Oh.
which is the very first novel where he uses the term the multiverse and has some links to Coming of the Terror Files. So all I know, this actually might be labeled as, I think we joke in the episode, Coming of the Terror Files Part 4, The Sundered Worlds. There you go, Charlie.
Excellent. Good. The Terror Files will never end. So yes, but we have ended now. Next time.
Charlie from the future here. We've had a slight change of plan. Our original topic is something that we're saving for episode 69 of Casual Trek. So next time, you'll get to enjoy a second look at the work, the oeuvre of the powerhouse himself, Jeffrey Combs. Oh yes.
Goodbye, listeners. Go do a Starfleet.
And practice safe mustard hands.
Yeah.
And make sure your tongue is engorged to the correct length and width.
Yeah, and don't knock your weird tumor egg sac back things on anything. That'd really sting.
You have been listening to Casual Trek, a Nerd and High podcast, presented by Charlie Etheridge Nunn and Miles Reed Lobato. Music by Alfred Etheridge Nunn. Star Trek by Paramount. Not us. Not yet. Well done, you've made it to the end. Now we have a special feature just because my brain works this way, and Miles asked about weird pregnancies in the X-Men. So, just off the top of my head, Wolfsbane was knocked up with the child of a wolf god who she gave birth to by throwing it up, and he became a Satan. Emma Frost had like 5,000 or so clone babies, of whom only 5 survived as the Stepford Cuckoos. Teresa Cassidy slept with Jamie Madrox for multiple men and rapidly got pregnant with a baby that turned out to be a Madrox dupe. That was a horrible story. Kitty Pryde got knocked up with brood, not just normal infected, but actually kind of pregnant with them. That was weird. Professor X and his twin sister shadow self, Mumudrai, who fought in the womb until he killed her and she was just matter before coming back as Cassandra Nova. Dakin was cut out of the womb by Romulus. Never look into Romulus, he's rubbish. Vulcan was raised from inside his dead mum. Adam X had some kind of weird genetic engineering birth, not a million miles unlike that. Angel Salvador, aka Angel 2, gave birth to like 1 million tiny bird bug mutant babies after sleeping with Beak. Bunch of them are still around. I don't know if Nathan Christopher Charles Ascani's Dayspring Summers counts. His birth was technically kind of normal despite having a clone as a mum. It's everything after that got really weird. Dazzler gave birth to Shatterstar, who then fathered Longshot, who fathered Shatterstar, who fathered Longshot, who fathered Shatterstar, and so on. Professor X's daughter Zandra was hatched out of an egg that had Xavier and Lilandra's DNA. Stinger had a kid with a Murta, which isn't a weird pregnancy, just fucking hell, women, have some standards. God. Hope Summers turned out to have been born to a firefighter and the Phoenix Force. And then all of the floor babies in Krakoa, one of the most regrettable parts of an otherwise decent age. And you know what? None of these were written by Chris Claremont. So, yeah, there you go. There's a list of weird X-Men pregnancies. Well done for making it this far through the episode. Goodbye.